Hello and welcome to EBKnits. My name is Emily. I'm a knitter and making enthusiast based in Orlando, Florida, and this channel is my outlet to share all things handmade. And today I am going to take you through a tour of my yarn stash. So first, I want to preface, I was out in the sun a little more than I expected today and I got red. I got sunburned. So please just ignore that. Right now, I unfortunately don't have a pretty background like a lot of other knitters do of their yarn stash in bookcases. One day maybe. But right now, my stash is stored in a Ziploc tote underneath my bed because I have minimal space. So that's what works for me right now. I don't have projects planned for all of this yarn. If you want to take a look back at a couple past videos, I have analyses of my yarn stash mid-2022, at the end of 2022, and starting 2023, and I have a whole Excel spreadsheet that I shared with you guys that you could use as a template for breaking down your yarn stash if you wished. And I really keep track of all of types of fiber, weights, and how many skeins I am using in my stash. I don't have a strict goal, but I do, like a lot of other knitters, have a goal of decreasing my yarn stash. Probably around, I think it's around 15 skeins is what would be suitable for me. Maybe a sweater quantity or two and some other extra skeins laying around that are just leftovers, or maybe single skeins for socks or certain projects. Right now, I think I'm around 60 skeins. I do intentionally keep track of my yarn every single month, so when I purchase a new skein or I use a new skein, I try to deduct it from my Excel spreadsheet that I have in the appropriate category. So I'll have to take a look at that to tell you exactly how many skeins I have. But this is not going to be a breakdown of every single skein. Maybe mid-2023, I don't think I've used enough yarn at this point to like really account for and do a another analysis of my yarn stash that I have. Instead, this is going to be more of a look through and also see what those plans are for the yarn that I have and what plans don't I have for yarn. Do I need to come up with plans for them? And some of this has changed. So I did a kind of similar video to this, plans for my yarn stash, in 2022 last year. However, I have allowed myself to switch those plans. So that's something that once I get something in my head, I usually am like, I have to commit to that. But especially at the beginning and throughout 2023 so far, I have tried to let things go, not stick on and hold on so hard to my intentions, because if I want them to change or I want something else, I just want to switch it. Like, hey, I have the yarn from it, I'm in love with this top instead of this top, and that's okay. Like, I don't have to stick to what the yarn was bought for or the pattern I had in mind like shortly after I purchased it. When I buy yarn, I do like to make a plan for it, otherwise I get overwhelmed. I know a lot of people feel like there's freedom in that, and I'm just not that person. I feel very overwhelmed. I also feel very overwhelmed by a large stash and having too much. So again, just a personal preference, and that is my feelings on my stash. Let's jump into it. So I used to have it organized pretty well. Right now, it is organized simply by wool fibers. Animal fibers are in my under storage tote, and I have the cellulose fibers that I have in another location, so I'll bring that over after we go through all the wool. I definitely have the most wool. So in this bag from De Brosé is a project. It is actually my Stephen West Twist and Turns Mystery Knit Along from 2022. I never even finished Clue 1. This is where I'm at. It's very pretty. I like my colors. I just never found the time to invest in the shawl. And in the previous year, 2021, with shawlography, I loved the community aspect and keeping up with the clues and making with the community and discovering the shawl as it grew. But now at this point, I've definitely seen the finished object and I've kind of lost the fun of the knit along. So it's just sitting. I don't think I'm going to finish it. I think I'm going to make it into a couple other projects. So I think I don't know, this is so pretty and took such a long time. So we'll see if I change my mind. But for right now, I'm considering the light colored yarn for a Caitlin Hunter pattern, the Tagna. I think that's how you say it. And it's a really lacy bottom. And then the dark yarn, I'm not sure. I have 2 skeins of each, 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn for each. This might be just a simple summer top of some sort. I'm not sure yet. Maybe like a Jessie May pattern? I don't know. And then I have 1 skein of this cattail colorway that I don't know what to do with. This is all Knit Picks yarn. It is Knit Picks Hawthorne Fingering. knit picks. Are they all Hawthorne? Yeah, they're all Hawthorne fingering. So these are all knit picks yarns. I got them in a D-stash on Ravelry, and they're just sitting here. I don't have any immediate plans for them. That's a when I get to it kind of project, because I'm not even sure if I want to wrap up all that beautiful work yet. So TBD. Okay, next up we've got some handspun. This I think I eventually want to be. This is handspun that I spun on a drop spindle. The fiber is from Amanda of Melanated Boho Bay. It was very colorful. It was very pretty. This one has a lot of purples, and I'm not sure if it's enough, but I kind of want to make it a contrast color in some kind of summery top, summery short sleeve shirt. So I'm not really sure what I want to do with it right now. I was thinking like some kind of Andrea Mowry short sleeve pattern, but I don't know if I have enough, so we'll see. Like instead of using spin cycle like she calls for in a lot of patterns, use this. We'll see. And then I have some more fiber. So this fiber is The Flight of Bats by Sunny Side Up Crafts. I requested this for my birthday. My brother gave it to me. It's got some really, really pretty sparkle fiber in it. These are some locks, more sparkle fiber. So it's really pretty. Excuse the rustling. But no plans for that, and I haven't used my drop spindle in a long time. This fancy bag is all my yarn scraps. So all the little itsy bitsies that are like 2-3 inches long go into this, and eventually, hopefully there'll be enough to send off to, it's an Ireland-based yarn company that collects scraps and uses it in their scrappy yarn, and it's usually like bits of tweed in their I don't know if it's called retweed, but I'm sure you've heard of it. A lot of people do it, but you need lots of scraps to send in, and then you also get like a discount code depending on how many pounds of scraps you send in. Okay, next is more fiber. This, in 2022, I just got my first drop spindle. For Christmas of 2021, I got a drop spindle. So throughout the beginning of 2022, I was doing a lot of spinning on it, and I signed up for a 3-month ply club from... I'll have to look it up because I don't remember this name either. I should have looked up some things before I jumped in, but I was going to jump into this video and said, hey, I feel like recording. So these are some skeins from that 3-month club, and I'm glad I only got 3 months because obviously it's still sitting here and I haven't spun in quite some time. This is what's currently on my drop spindle, and this is another month from that fiber club. This is what I had done, and then this is what's on my drop spindle right now. So I basically still have almost all that fiber left. It's all really pretty, it's just not being used right now. Okay, so that's a look at all my fiber. Now let me show you some yarn. Last summer, Frankie Gray Fibers, Jody from the Grocery Girls, she was having this mega sale in her shop, and I was just in love. So I got 3 skeins of her Frankie Gray Fiber yarn in the colorway Happy Face. It's really pretty, and with this I want to make a sorrel summer top. I have the pattern, I can see it, just a really bright, fun, yellow, summery top. Oh, my cat's peeking in. Okay, so there we go, 3 skeins of that. Then I have some more fingering weight, all still from Jody from the Grocery Girls. So these 2 are for some kind of top. Originally, I was going to make a knititude summer pattern, but then this is what I was talking about, how I kind of just change and flow as I go. Now I'm thinking maybe it'll be a Jessie May or some other pattern. What held me back from knitting the Confetti Crop by Knititude is that there are no short rows. So when I was looking at the Ravelry projects, the neck was just huge, and it really went down really far in the back, and I would rather have the neck come up higher in the back. So that is one of the things that pulled me away from that pattern. Although I love Knitude's patterns, I'm not saying anything negative about it. It's just more beginner friendly, and I think I can go a step up from that. So instead of trying to insert short rows myself, I'm just going to choose a different summer pattern, maybe still simple so the yarn can really show off, but just something else. And then this is just a single skein. I got this for a pair of socks for myself. It is called Kissing Booth, again from Frankie Gray Fibers. I think it's beautiful. I'm still on my first pair of socks that I am knitting, but that's a whip. And then this last one in this bag, which is most of my fingering weight yarn, is Regia by Arne and Carlos. So this is a recent purchase from February of this year when I was in Denver, but I was kind of starting my first pair of socks, and I wanted another pair of sock yarn and thought either self-striping or self-patterning like this would be really cool to try. So that's why I got this one. So I think that's pretty much all of my hand-dyed yarn. It's just the Jody from the Grocery Girls right now. I kind of do a mix. Sometimes I buy hand-dyed yarn. I think it's beautiful. I just don't always have the budget for it. So I do have maybe more budget-friendly yarns. Of course, that's all relevant depending on people's budgets. But the next bit of yarn is a sport weight. This is Nature Spun Sport Weight in the colorway Wine. And this I got to make a ranunculus. So I have 4 skeins of it. I want to make a short sleeve ranunculus. I live here in Florida, so I really want it to be kind of like a holiday sweater, but for this kind of weather. For Floridian Decembers. So that's my goal with this one. And right now, no longer in my stash is some worsted weight red yarn. I'm actively making a cabled holiday sweater that's Aran weight. So when I do go home to Illinois or maybe go somewhere colder to celebrate the holidays, I can wear that. Or just put it on for like opening some gifts under a tree, and then I can change into my realistic ranunculus, for the rest of my day or something. But I really wanted a couple of holiday tops because I don't have anything specific like that. Okay, next, I'm not going to open all this up, but these are just some of my minis. It's a collection of minis from Ken Yarn, from Stress Knits, and some extra yarn from Knit Collage. Oh, and then one more mini. This was when I was debating on colors for a top that I made, and I ultimately went with something different that I already had in my stash. But I went to Four Poles Yarn Shop here in Winter Park, Florida, and I got some Emma's yarn. And I was having trouble with my gauge swatch, and someone recommended, like, hey, why don't you just buy a mini skein, see if this yarn works for you, maybe that other yarn you're using doesn't, and then instead of investing in a whole sweater's quantity, you're just trying a mini skein. So ultimately, obviously I went with the other one. I didn't even open the mini skein or wind it up, but that was an idea. This is the colorway Golden Hour. Okay, next I have leftover, this is all open, but it's barely used. This is all Knit Picks. It's their fingering weight. It's their cheaper fingering weight than the Hawthorne, and it's non-superwash. I'll have to look up what it's exactly called because I don't have any of the labels. It's all in this bag. But I've got 6 colors here. They are from my Stephen West Mystery Knit Along, my shawlography from 2021. I loved that shawl. It is amazing. But I have all this leftover yarn. It were called for 5 colors in 100 grams, and then I inserted a 6 color. So I didn't use as much yarn as I thought I would. So I've got almost all of these are almost full 50-gram balls. So I think I might need to get some more yarn, but I'm thinking I really am drawn to Hoki's All Together sweater. And instead of using the words all together, there's a tester that inserted those with just extra rose flower charts. So maybe just having an all over like rose or flowered sweater. But also a lot of people have been coming out with more flowery motifs. I'm a real big floral girl if you can't tell. So, I could maybe change the all together sweater to one of the different ones, but just the combination of the pinks, I think, and the reds are really pretty. This coral color is like my favorite. Okay, next yarn up in my stash. These are just leftovers. This is Malabrigo Worsted. It's the colorway Diana, and it's 2 full skeins of yarn. I was going to use these for a sweater I made, but I didn't ultimately like the swatch that I made up with this as the contrast color, so I went with something different. So now they're just sitting in my stash. I still think I want to use them as a contrast color for something, but maybe with like a light pink or something, or a gray. Like, I was going to use it with a light blue. That was just way too contrasty for my liking. So they're just sitting, waiting to find their special project. This is leftover from a sweater I made for my mom. This is a We Are Knitters. It's a wool. I don't remember the name of it. In like sprinkled denim or something. It's a worsted weight, I think. And this is also leftover, a whole skein and a half, or 2 skeins maybe, leftover. This I'll also have to put on screen because it's also leftover from a sweater. It's worsted weight. It was really, really, really affordable. It's like 6-ply or something. I think it was supposed to be, or mostly used and advertised for, it's from the Brown Sheep Company, I want to say. And it's mostly advertised not for knitting, but for like weaving maybe? But it was really affordable, and I wanted to shop from a small shop, so I got it on Etsy. And ultimately, it's not scratchy, but it's also not really soft. For me, I have it as, it's a cardigan. It's a cardigan with a lacy back, and I think it's really beautiful. I really like it. But also when I put on my Malabrigo cardigan, you can definitely feel the difference. So it works. It's still soft. It's just not as soft as Malabrigo. But I know for sure that yarn that I just showed you is non-superwash. I really like non-superwash yarns for the fact that I can split splice them together simply by getting it wet or spitting on it. You can rub two ends of the yarn together and you don't have as many tails to weave in. And then my last bag is again all leftover and randoms. So this is a wool, nope, I think this is a We Are Knitters leftover from my first sweater, the buttercream sweater. I got one of their kits for my first ever sweater, and honestly, I don't really recommend it. The pattern was not as straight. It was an easy pattern. But now, looking back, I wish I would have made something different for my first sweater. It doesn't really fit. I never wear it. It's at my parents' house in Illinois. It's a seamed sweater. It doesn't really give you instructions. I really wanted step-by-step guidance, and I didn't give you that. So I was kind of put off from any more We Are Knitters projects, if I'm being honest. This is Malabrigo. This is the color I ended up going with for that sweater I was telling you about, where I didn't go with the Diana colorway, but I went with this colorway. So that's just leftover. This is some very old, at this point, very unscanned Wool in the Gang, Super Trooper wool. So this is superwash. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I bought it years ago in a Wool in the Gang sale, and I've made it intentional not to just shop from sale. Well, I've tried to just not shop from sales, but also when I am shopping intentionally. So this is something I would actually wear, or I could see this being a sweater. So that's where this, I just got it because it was on sale, versus some of this stuff from Frankie Gray. I still got it because it was on sale, but I could see it becoming something. Versus this is just two random skeins. Same thing here. This is from that same scale. This is sale. This is still Wool in the Gang. They're mohair worsted. I used it in a kaleidoscope sweater which is a knit collage pattern, and it's fine. Whatever. Same thing here. This is Wool in the Gang's alpaca. I actually knit it into the bottom of a tank top. It was a Jessie May tank top that I thought was too short, and I ran out of my first skinny yarn, so I thought this was a complementary color. However, it was way too itchy when it touched my skin. My skin was way too sensitive. Like, feeling it right now, it feels so soft. It actually, like, on my tummy with no ease, it was really itchy and uncomfortable. So I completely cut it off. So that's this. One day, it'll find its home somewhere. This is Malabrigo. So this and this were what made the two-color sweater. It is a cardigan. It became the homecoming cardi. And then this final skein of yarn is a black alpaca yarn. I bought it originally. I don't remember where I bought it from. It's probably Wool in the Gang too, actually. But I don't remember. I'll have to see if I can find out. But it's a black alpaca yarn. I used it to make my mom a scarf. It's a lacy scarf by Emily Green. And it turned out really beautifully, but I had this much left. So that is it for my wool. Let me show you my cellulose fibers next. All right. So I'm losing the light. This will be quick though, because I really don't have that many cellulose fibers actually, despite living in Florida. So we will start with one of my most recent purchases. I bought this along with that Regia yarn I showed you earlier. This I bought in Denver, hand dyed in Longmont, Colorado. It's from Theodora's Pearls. It's 100% bamboo. So originally I bought it to make a sweater, to make a t-shirt, a summer t-shirt. However, I thought about it. I watched a new podcast, and they were saying how bamboo stretches so much. And that made me remember, Oh yeah, I have a bamboo top and it stretched so much. And I thought it was just the top, that specific yarn I don't love, but maybe it's true for all bamboo, and if that's the case, then I might have to rethink what I'm going to use this for. So this is kind of on the to be determined side. And then I have this yarn, more leftovers. This is leftover. This is We Are Knitters, the cotton in the colorway terracotta. It's an orange. And I use this to make, hi beautiful, my kitty's right here. And I used this to make the Azalea top by Joan Ho. It is a top where the pattern is not out yet. It's coming out in her book. But it's a very beautiful tank top. It took a long time and I knit it in this. And it was from Stash. What else do I have? I've also got another project sitting here. This is a project that I want to come back to relatively soon. But it's been sitting for a long time. This is recycled yarn. So there is a person on Etsy just called Recycled Yarn, and she tears apart old sweaters that she thrifts and sells the yarn. So this is a brioche tank top, another one that I test knit. I test knit the top, and then this is my second top, the version that I was making. So that's the Thea top by Tamara Makes, and I would like to get back to it soonish, so that I can have this maybe for this summer to wear. It's 100% cotton. And then we're just wrapping up. We just have some scraps left. So this is bulky cotton, and it is from, hey beautiful, and it is from EcoView Fiber Mill, but they did close down, unfortunately, but that was some really nice cotton. I just have a little bit left. This is some linen from Knit Picks that I used for something that I don't remember what I used it for, but I believe this is linen from Knit Picks. That's what happens, you know? This is the bamboo from Lion Brand, True Boo. I pretty much strongly dislike using it. The sparkly version is way splittier than the solid version though. So if you're going to use one, I would recommend not the sparkly. Hated my experience with that. This is a little better, but the garment, this is the garment that really stretches a lot. What else? Here's some more scraps, This one on my right is a We Are Knitters or Wool in the Gang. I'm not sure. They both have fabric yarn. It's like called the tape yarn from one of them, and the other one might call it the fabric yarn. But it's basically kind of like shoelace construction, and I think it works really nice in bags. So for crochet bags, if you want to use bulky cotton, this knits up really quick and is really pretty. I like this a lot, and I've used that bag for years that I made with it, so I would totally buy it again for that reason. This is also We Are Knitters or Wool in the Gang. I don't remember which. It's their new wave yarn. It's a mix of polyester. No, it's half cotton, half recycled water bottles. And it's a nice yarn. It's very, very warm. I knit my sister a hat with it, and then with those leftovers, I had a ton. So I knit a whole shirt with it. The shirt is very thick. I don't recommend it for a garment, but you know, hey, it's fine. I have some bucket hats then that I made with those leftovers because I had a lot of this yarn. And again, they're pretty thick though. They're not really comfortable for the heat of the summer, especially here. I love raffia for that reason. And I do have raffia, which I kind of want to get into. I want to at least make a bag. I was definitely thinking, I have a black crochet bag that I didn't crochet, but it was my grandma's that I use all the time. And I kind of want to make something similar to that, but using raffia in a lighter summery color. But I have to remember where I put it. I actually don't know where my raffia is, so I have to think about that. I won't show you, but that's another yarn I have is Rah Rah Raffia from Wool in the Gang. I bought so many skeins at one point in a sale, but this is something that I don't super worry about destashing or using because every summer, for like 3 summers now, I just get in a raffia vibe. I knit a ton of hats, or I knit in a bag, like mostly it's hats. But I knit a couple of sun hats 2 summers ago. Then last summer I crocheted another one with a bunch of flowers on it. And then, like I said, this summer I'm thinking I will crochet a bag. And also, raffia works much better with crocheting than knitting. I tried knitting with it and it just wasn't a pleasant experience. My last bit of yarn is, here's another leftover. This is another Knit Picks, I don't know, I can look it up and tell you, but I made a tank top with it. It's really soft. It's nice. Like it. And that's it. This is my one and only acrylic in my stash right now. This is Christmas Gold. My sister found it for me at a local yarn shop in Illinois, and it's just a really nice goldie with goldie specks. I would certainly use it for Christmas ornaments and stuff. Christmas ornaments. It's kind of itchy, so I would not use it next to skin, but definitely home decor. I think it'd be really pretty. That's my stash. Maybe another time I have more tools and other crafts, but that is all the yarn that I have. So we've explored my entire stash tour. Okay, I should have a caveat. So I do have some more yarn. If you watched a recent podcast of mine, you will know that I am a little bit lying when saying that's all my stash. I do have some acrylic stash from Michael's that I bought for some baby blankets for coworkers. However, I have not officially entered that into my stash because it's sitting exclusively in its bag. I am being really intentional. Hold on one second, we're almost done. I am being really intentional by using up the entire skein as much as possible for these blankets and not opening skeins that are unnecessary so I can return the stuff I don't use. I do not want more acrylic sitting in my stash. It's okay, I chose to use acrylic for these baby blankets so they're machine washable for the new parents. So it definitely has its pros and cons, but for me and for what I've learned through my knitting, I would rather hand wash my items and be really careful with them using natural fibers than using acrylic. That's my personal preference. But like I said, everyone's different, and I just think in this situation, acrylic was called for. So that is a wrap up of my entire yarn stash tour. Please let me know below. Do you have a certain projects in mind for some of the yarn that I had that I don't have projects for? I'd love to hear your input. Otherwise, I will see you next time, friends. Bye!